the smoking room?
This is the
Holy
smoking room.
smokes, look at that, a fireplace?
Fireplace.
Yeah.
You're doing a special? This is a cozy place you got here. I love this.
Are you into the Crazy Eights? Are you doing that Crazy Eights movie?
Okay,
Let's come right
People
out.
all the time
short
are nobody
straw.
listen to you. Gotta entertain somewhere in between so they'll pay
Did you get the short straw that many times? Did you got to do everything? But gee, my God, the Banshees are playing Banshee again.
And
You know, in Tabor,
of all this experience, Ed, really, you're the most entertaining.
since Pompeii was
There's
never
no
Well, he's
TV
on a
better.
different track.
There's nobody sitting on a stage anywhere in the universe better than what Ed's saying to me all the time, man. I
It's
just
a
love
wonderful
it.
world.
It's so
eh?
good.
What a lovely light.
Yeah, but now
Just its
but
biggest
now
fan.
what?
Me and Jonathan call ourselves Ed
It's
heads.
still there, okay?
We're just.
We're gonna get
now when you
involved.
have to
My
do it,
God, what a
when
fucking
you
pleasure.
Oh,
have
please, I've
You
said
never
I've worked really hard not to be like Ed, and I sound like Ed just to say that.
Ed is dead.
I died a countless million times before the movie even began, and I was trying to tell the story because I have no mind like man.
I'm impressed.
You
with
have
people
no
that
mind
are
like man,
straight
for
into
sure.
it.
I don't think that man will ever understand the day, because the day went by without no one
Yeah, I
to
know,
talk
we're one of
to
the
every
few.
way. Now they've got to do
I'm
something
struggling
about
with
that.
I'm like Ed,
Yeah,
I'm trying to
they
fix
do.
it from
Now
the
they've got to do something about that.
But it's nice here in the fire. I'm not really sensitive to smoke because I've been a smoker. I'm not like crazy.
I learned to read and write the music.
I can smoke just like for me. The essence of your smoking is a nice
It
cigarette. for
sounds
me.
so good, I
Yeah.
don't
You know what I
want
mean?
to
That's
shut
like
the
a nice
radio
experience.
off
Well,
while
I'm
I'm
telling you,
going
I
home.
prefer if people would smoke the crappy cigarette.
I'm getting
I
younger
know, I'm
than
trying to quit.
springtime, I
I'm
have no
seriously trying to
design.
quit.
I gave up my purpose because
You know
I'm
the best thing that
aligned.
you could do is to have a pot of organic American
The
spirits.
world
It's
is
expensive
driving me
like crazy.
pots over the
Yeah.
green.
But you have it there and anyone can smoke it whenever they want it. And then, by having a true cigarette experience, you'll put down the shit.
The shit is flying around
True,
in my
I've helped
head.
people
That
smoke
would
before.
work. That would work. That
That's a
would
good
work.
idea.
Oh, little man, so
So, and that's like,
what are
hey,
you
that's how
gonna
you
get
get
into
into your
that?
addiction until you go over the top, right?
Don't you know
And
that's
then you
understood by
step
someone?
into a space where it's sacred again and you enjoy the tobacco again.
Yeah.
Is
And
there
then
anybody
it's
there
not
that
enjoying you,
makes
it's not
me
ingesting you
alive?
instead.
Well, I'm going through just lots of pain right now.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh,
It's
what a
nice.
beautiful
It's nice.
day.
Well, Dave must be
They're all
blowing
thinking
on
about the
something
White
and
Cliffs
it's-
of Dover. The White Cliffs of Dover. They're thinking about that all the time. These crazy, limey bastards. They think, because more trouble than Carter's got pills, they fucking assholes. You know, I never knew that an English gentleman was such a weirdo until I found out. And then, whoa, wow, I'm glad there's no English in me. I speak the language rather well, but I'm not English, don't you see? I'm trying to say something.
Always, yeah, always trying to.
You guys are almost opposites.
Here you go. Here you go. See what that is?
Verboseness.
The world.
Well,
Where are we at here?
there's no competition.
What do we got? What do we got here, Ed?
What
What
is
are we
that?
looking at?
Poland, man. Poland. Polotchkia.
Was I was supposed to know that? I felt like I.
You're a dumb son of a bitch. You ought to know that by now.
It's covering it up.
That's Poland. See?
Polska.
Yeah.
And
Keskia Gorky. You know what they have
and
to
what's that got to do with you?
I make pickles.
Makes what?
I make pickles.
Ah, Jesus.
What kind?
Any kind you want. I make pickles. I make rash. I
There's
make
very
crust.
little that Ed can't do.
Triscuit
I know,
pickles.
Like, and he's done it all.
I didn't do
It
anything
doesn't
yet.
seem like there's anything left to do.
I haven't heard about it.
We're
How the hell am I going to
already
do
through.
that? I never thought anybody.
And feel comfortable in the room. That's
Yeah.
arguably valuable. But the thing I noticed doing it before when there was no talking and stuff like that is the community didn't build quite as fast and solid as I think it might have if they could have really relayed a little bit in a circle before.
They were.
It's arguable.
Everybody, you
It's
know,
arguable.
It works, but if I hear a whole bunch of different opinions about what's going
Oh,
on,
Mind
I
gets
know.
boggled.
it kills
Yeah,
the
I know.
enthusiasm.
It's
for simplicity
mind-boggling,
of drumming.
mind-boggling.
Right, I
Drumming
know
is
what you're saying.
simple.
Overburdened.
Well, what I was thinking too, this was another
This
thing, and I
rock.
could be wrong about this too, is that drum dialogue can be good. A lot of people never to drum before or anything else.
Yeah.
So it can help them
Yeah.
to say,
Yeah.
there's no bad beats,
Yeah.
and a few things like that, just a few, do what you want, don't worry about chaos, a few things, maybe of encouragement, or then other people are gonna say
Upgrading.
something like, hey, I wanna play some African beats in there,
Yeah.
and then we talk about that, and we just maybe have the drum dialogue before.
You watched
Whatever
them.
works.
You watched
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
watched
yeah.
that
But
whole
I like what
performance
you're
down
talking
there
about too.
today,
Yeah.
right?
Like just
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Did you
Just
go?
performance.
Were
So
you?
when somebody steps,
I mean, maybe every other night, but it's a big thing to talk about and get used to playing music together and getting to know each other. But we talk about having Thursday night meetings. It's a joke because every night we're here. That's what I'm saying. But if we continue, then this is like another night. Thursday nights become the vision circle, and people want to chat their heads off or join into a dialogue circle or get to know each other or be more casual. Then they can have Thursday night, and that's a voluntarily. What's that?
They make a statement, it's quite a statement,
It's quite a statement.
but they never stop stating it. Rather than understand it, they tell everybody what it means.
I don't know. We're meeting in a circle doing it now. It's just
I know.
inviting more and more people to it some days of the week, not necessarily.
Who could be there, it
That's
wouldn't
what I'm
matter.
talking about Sundays and stuff, but we're talking more, I don't know about the dialogue, how entertaining that is for everyone, although it could be. You could this is what I was thinking today, is you can advertise a vision circle that will be as popular with some people as a drum
Exactly.
circle.
Exactly. Well, I expect that a lot of the people who go to the drum circle would be
Yeah, it's all a
totally
vortexing.
wanting
Yeah.
to
That's
go
ex-
further.
That's
than
what it's
just-
all about.
They went
Yeah,
bananas on the fucking iris.
Who just put the tools around, have the whatever they need, and they don't worry about organizing that much. They've
Right,
got
yeah,
things
right.
around.
No, they've been fucked over so many times, they think it's okay now.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say
They-
something there.
Wait a minute, I speak their language, don't ever forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I know you speak all the languages, Ed. You
Well, that
speak
took a
all
couple
the
of days to
languages.
rehearse.
Yeah,
They gave me this whole thing ad-libbing.
yeah, yeah.
What do I look like, a label off a tea can or some fucking thing?
All right, now let's stay on
I mean,
no
you know,
topic
hey,
here.
Wait a minute, we're importing here, we're
Yeah.
exporting somewhere
You
else.
know, I'm more.
The only
for
time we
against
can put
it.
ourselves anywhere we wish to be is before they burn the bloody building
I don't
down.
care.
I know.
Well, they like that.
That's how I honestly feel, that's
Yeah.
all. I'm
Shooting people, for fuck's sake. You know that, they called that shot real. That's very straight out fucking horseshit, but that cop is an ex-cop and he shoots fucking people and he thinks he's getting away with it. That's the amazing part. Yeah? Ciprio, you remember this? There's a lot of things you can't relate to
They
that
just
way.
brought in some Vancouver cops to Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
They just hired them. That's like,
38 of
why
them.
can't they bring them in from like Nanaimo or from
No, no, no,
Parksville,
hey.
somewhere a little more
This
peaceful?
little community of
More
watch your
cops,
dog
more trouble.
bite your neighbor is getting fucking upset,
Yeah.
you know? You can train your animals better than that.
Well, it seems like a kind of a psychic.
But it's hard as hell to
what's
get
going
all the
on.
poachers, and it's difficult as hell to get the guys that are rustling all the fucking cattle.
That's why we should stop it before it gets any worse.
No, well, no,
That
I
way.
mean, we're creating it. You gotta realize that.
We're only exposing it.
Excuse me?
We're
Is
exposing
there any
it. and it's
reality?
coming to a head.
Is there any reality? I mean, I don't see anybody getting hurt on the streets, and I'm all over the place. I don't
point.
see any problem.
It's good for you. Good
You
for
don't see any
Glad to
problem.
hear that nobody's really getting hurt.
No, there is,
There
The
is.
crime-
there's
the
a
actual
serious
crime
problem.
rate, according to the statistics of the people that run the place,
Yeah.
is going down.
Right.
It better stop
Well,
entirely.
What's all this fear-based, oh my God stuff?
No, I think that's not quite the correct view.
Is it not?
Because I go into the courtroom and I see all the people in the courtroom. I go into the jails and see the jails are full.
Yeah.
They're putting people on electronic monitoring.
Yeah.
More and more people are broke, that they're having to resort to
Yeah.
anything they can do to get
Yeah.
by. And there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of fear. And it's the police
Some of the
are
neighbors are
reacting
very
to
restless,
this.
put it that way.
They're not friendly anymore.
Oh, no, they're not all that way. There are a few real decent folks out there.
There's a
Don't
few.
say fuck all, at least that's a break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Throughout, there's decent people.
and so I see
hard to tell.
I see a rise.
The whole
in
thing works
crime.
on that decency. that's
And I don't believe
You
it's
see a
bigger.
rise.
rise
moral
in
code.
crime.
I see a rise.
Where
in
do
there
you
is-
see
there
the
is-
rise
there
in
is
your daily
cracks.
life? Where do you see
Oh,
a
big
rise
ones.
in crime?
Yeah, there's some
Where,
big cracks.
where
that-
do you see a need?
okay.
in fraud, especially in fraud.
That's
Like
just
almost
what you're-
everybody in this house is in some kind of a fraudulent grab from,
Well, I'm glad I'm
from
not
the
a part of
system.
I'm
for
glad I'm not part
survival.
of it too.
And like we're not doing anything to sustain our own base here. We're not growing a garden. We're not producing any
Look,
product.
So-
the fucking
are you a criminal?
manipulating sons of
That's why
bitches
we
went to
have all
100
this
million different
forced into
tables,
this
okay?
type of behavior for survival.
They were only
Forced.
trying to promote
to
that
lie.
asshole thing so they could build another bunch of fucking stupid
Tell
condos
the
for people
truth
to
and
die in.
there.
I think
We
again,
all know.
So that's the increase that I see, just in this house that I'm in, and each person here could be talked to, and they'll tell you their individual problems, why they had to resort to the system, the organized charitable system for survival, to try and do something.
You got a
decent in
native
this
brother,
world.
and he's relating to people's status cards and people who don't have status cards. The statistics, vital
I
or
get
not,
worn out just listening to it.
yes.
Yeah, I get worn out just listening
But this
to it.
native comes some money. Now, is that the way to really make fucking funny money look good?
No, but the whole system is leading, to me, the whole economic structure is based on a false premise. It's based on mistrust, it's not.
Well, it's been a
not
long
based
time
on-
since anybody actually had something to say about
On a
it.
sort of different level, aren't we needed, isn't sort of like oppression needed to grow? I don't know.
Ah,
Like,
Well,
Sometimes-
there could be a
sometimes-
reason for this, but no
sometimes
reason
trauma-
any longer if we've got a flower.
Trauma
now.
state's a great category.
And-
People that are traumatized,
yeah,
they are all of a sudden somewhere else, right? Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah, sure, yeah, I
you
hear
know?
what you're saying, yeah.
And you see the light, but what do you do with it all? You see? It's diffused light. Okay? The definitive value of coming in, going and coming and never know who the fuck is there because they're willy-nilly.
Yeah,
They're not spontaneous combustion chambers. They're
Right.
bursting in flames and disappearing right from point of view, right? That's called stigmatism, and stigmatism, or stigmatism, what do you call it? Stigmatism? Stigmata. It's stigmata.
Way difficult again.
It's
I can't
stigmata.
do it.
I was
can't
keeping
do
up
it.
with them.
You were?
What?
Yeah, it's a stigmatism
Yeah, it
for
was
sure,
too.
man.
Well,
Yeah.
stigmata is
Well,
very
it's just
fucking
me,
real,
but,
man.
Yeah.
Well,
I have seen
when I
people
replay the tape, I'll see. So that-
disappear right
What kind of
before
sense
me
that
friggin'
makes?
eyes, man.
Because they were stigmatized?
They burnt from the inside out and they disappeared.
Yeah, no,
Is that
you-
good or bad, though?
Are you still keeping out?
Well, I was. I mean, until the point that people disappear
Look,
because
there's a
of their
guy in
stigmatic. But
Florida.
I mean,
There's
he's
a guy down
basically
in-
saying you disappear through an inert process. That's what I get. Is if you're not
Yeah,
moving
you're
and
being
growing, you're
fried by
dead.
your own cucumbers.
I feel like that right now.
Bananas.
I'm not
You're not-
growing.
You're not growing? Well, David,
I feel like I really am.
grow up.
I know I am.
Yeah, that's good.
But I know I am, and I am that person, whether they know it or not. It's not what they think I say, it's what I meant to say a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
The last few
exactly.
weeks, I've really opened my consciousness to it. All the
Well, I'm
different
sure
possibilities,
hoping
and
that
it's felt
that
really
might
good.
be, that might be the bistro of all
Yeah, well.
bistros, eh?
Well, you're known by your works.
You know, I
What does that mean?
I just wanna get that son
Speaking
of
of
a
which,
man,
David, I take someone.
that vandalous
I'd
little
like to say
bastard,
that
I
I do
wanna
look
get
after
that
myself, and I'm
prick
not on a pension.
Yeah.
like
And
nobody
that's-
wants to
But
get
you're
him.
still you're making beads, and what survival value are beads?
Hey, you don't know. There's a mystic metaphor in a bead. It is
Oh,
a
yeah.
metaphor for the soul.
It's an art.
It's more than art. Well, it is art. Yes,
It's art. It's art. All right. So you say.
Sorry, but every
Right,
bead
but
has a
still-
story to
but
tell.
still- yeah,
When you line them all up, start
you're
talking,
doing
you're
something good.
There's the body and there's the
You-
emptiness of
you-
it.
You're the one
Yeah,
of the
the bead
few,
just right
and that's
above you,
why
bro.
I
And it-
respect you for doing
People
that.
make
And
statues
I'm
out
not
of
blowing
you.
my own horn to say
Turn
that a
into
lot of
limit-
this
a limit
momentum
pool
is
of
caused
fish.
by my
You
vision.
find out if there's anything there.
But I'm not saying I'm better than anyone because I need all these
Don't
guys.
know.
Or I'm dead too.
But if you leave the
I
animal
couldn't
alone
grow
long
without
enough,
it.
usually prepared
It's so
a greater
entertaining. I
value
want
of
him
himself,
around.
and he can repair himself.
Well,
His heart
he
can
is
build
something
himself up.
different. He's a different quality, that's for sure.
It's a good quality.
One heart after
Different quality.
another.
Well, how come it's taking
The
so
only
long
heart beat
for us to
away
get
from
anything
forgetting he
going
said
here?
anything.
Well,
How
it's
come
not
we're all
all
so
up to
divided
us.
in reality?
It's not all up to us. I've tried to make it when it's up to me, and it just doesn't happen.
Exactly. Now we have a team out there that can't remember who they're working for. It's a very interesting theory.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll catch up.
Theoretically, that's what they do.
Yeah, some will catch up. That's all.
Well, if they don't have time, they won't.
To me, it's like an art using community. Like that's what I feel
That's
like
what
we're
it's
painting.
abuse, though. You know.
It's abuse.
Yeah, it's abuse.
Are we abusing the community?
Somebody's taking my tools. How can I get any work done?
I'm sure you see that.
I don't
The
think
art
that kind of karma is
painting
the
with
only
the
thing.
community, like just being creative with the community.
With the community, that's the idea now is, I believe, is to gather the people together and form the communities, meeting community needs. So we come away from the system.
But you know,
of
it's only going to
destruction.
work if each person is personally responsible, and you know that.
That's why,
that's what
that's
your
why I
arguments
have
are.
to do
I know.
what I believe is
I know.
true.
Yeah, but meanwhile,
And
you're
it's
gonna
hard
make
to do.
yourself
It's
sick
very
trying to
hard
figure
to
out
do.
who's not
When
telling
it's
you
my
how to say
turn,
so. And how
I
many
hope
words
I
does
take it
to say
right.
no?
I think you have a noble heart,
That's right.
David.
Yeah, well.
Oh yeah, we're doing such a great work, everybody's deciding for us what to say.
So how does it feel, David, to have a camera shoved in your face?
It feels really good. I actually did myself today. I actually took the camera.
You're wrapping
and,
identity in the fair.
And I decided, I said, okay, I want to hear what I sound like, because I thought I had something to say. And I listened to myself after, and I didn't like the sound of my voice.
You missed the point almost entirely.
What was
There
the
was
point?
no one home at the
I
time.
think that's a great experience. I
They
really
have to
look forward to seeing
transcend
the
their own
videos
view
of
and go
this
around
Monday.
projecting things to
This
people
Monday.
who already
I
know
hope you have
that's
enough
not what he
tape to do
meant.
wall to wall on it. If you don't, like
I
the
mean,
group
he's pretty
should pay for
firm
the
about
tape.
that, I think.
Well, there's this consideration, like, Jonathan's really difficult to work with,
Yeah,
but I want to work with second camera,
yeah.
like with Jonathan.
Yeah, well, can't you just work
He's too
together?
flighty.
No, okay,
completely?
no, but here's how we could work
David,
together.
he's
Yeah.
too
But,
flighty.
but
Let
when
him do what he does. He does it well. I know what you're saying. You'd like him to be more like you.
No, Christ, no more clothes.
No, I'm saying something.
Yeah,
No more
okay.
clothes,
Okay,
no
so I'm trying to
more
get this
clothes.
message
We
out
don't
to
knick-knack
him,
all day
Yeah.
long.
that if when we put our cameras on, we leave them on,
Give a dog a bone.
we only have to sync it up to one point later, and it's synced for
Every
all that
song
time.
is sung by
Whereas-
How long can you
someone
run
that is not
An hour
really
tape, I can do an hour tape.
okay.
So if we start at the first moment and leave it on, no matter what we get,
Would it
Yeah.
ever be the
then
part
we're
you
totally
wanna
synced out.
play?
Yeah.
And so while his camera's
Does
watching
anybody have
something,
the right
you'd
to
see what
say
my camera was
Right.
watching as
Well,
well.
you can do that on the editing anyway, can't you?
Yeah, but then, but this would be natural. All we would have to
Nothing
do at
short
this
of a
point is go
fucking
through a
miracle.
switcher.
Well, I'm sure he won't mind that.
And-
Does
and
he have
into,
film?
And it would be, the continuity would be on the switcher.
Does he have film too?
With the one soundtrack.
Say no more.
Well, no, we're always, I don't know. We don't know on Monday.
We need 3 hours
Like,
anyways.
we got all these tapes, all these, just before we'd go and, say we needed money, we'd go and find it. That's how we do it.
That's good.
And if we have it now, we'll spend it now.
I'm glad you're the videographer.
So that's what I think. We make sure.
Cooperatively, independently, but
That's not a bad idea. You don't
There's
have to
been
have your
times,
camera on and
like we're both independents, but we like acting cooperatively, but not as we used to,
Yeah.
because we're both very powerful people and we like to be. We both want to be in charge. But all I wanted.
You do it your way, I'll do
I
it
think
mine.
it's a really good challenge that you do it for 3 hours and the camera's on. It almost forces you to be involved for the full 3 hours because the camera's running anyway. What are you going to do? Put it on the table?
Right.
So that's an
Even hand it
inspiration.
to somebody else.
That's right.
to
That's
keep
part of
going.
the creation.
You notice it's kind of more free flow here. Look, take a look at that bug.
How are you doing, Ezra?
Whoa, it's going in and out of focus.
House seems mostly pretty happy. House seems pretty happy.
Yes. Marijuana to kind of
It's all the
calm.
Is this a paid political announcement?
No, I'm just saying marijuana helps me deal with all the stress that's in the planet.
I'm promoting a really good idea right now is that we take our whole movement out to the streets.
I'm for that. Did you hear what he just said, Jonathan?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm offering Sunday as a day that we could do that because it's almost like we need to book things, right? Like we book vision circles, we do drum circles, we do, it's like the Jehovah's Witness will go out on the streets and sell the literature,
Well, I'm just gonna hang around here to make sure this all comes out right.
We don't need a lot of organization. We don't need a lot of help. We just
We have-
need
we have to watch-
tiny bit.
That's the same. We don't need a lot of anarchy either, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I don't believe in capital A anarchy, only small A anarchy. I think it's more powerful. It's kind of like the Zen of anarchy. Just a little anarchy.
Okay, I predict there will be at least 100 people there.
Just imagine every government employee just misfiling one file today. Just one file. Print one letter wrong, you bureaucrats. Just one letter.
Just think if one anarchist swapped license plates with another anarchist.
I want a license plate right now that says "We two are one."
Basically, right?
Is that a good license plate, John?
You two are one?
Yeah. WE.
metabolism or catabolic metabolism. Now, there are many researchers that have actually gone on record now to say that the day that our anabolic metabolism is less than that of our catabolic metabolism, meaning the day that we are breaking down more on a biological level than we are actually building up, that is literally the day that we begin to die on a cellular level. Let me explain what goes on in the human body and how efficient your body is at repairing itself. When you're young, when you're vital and healthy, you turn over, you replace, you replenish, rebuild approximately 200 million cells each and every minute. That's about 300 billion cells in an entire day that are completely being replaced. So that saying is very true that we've heard sometimes, that that person that you stare at in the mirror before you go to bed is very different from the person who's going to stare back at you the next morning when you wake up. We know now that this breakdown state of affair doesn't just happen because of a lack of movement and a lack of exercise. We know that is definitely a contributing factor. But we know now that catabolic metabolism, the breakdown state of affairs, also happens because we don't get enough high-quality protein in our diets on a daily basis. There was a very famous research report that appeared in the American Journal of Clinical Investigation in May of 1998. And what it did was these researchers had thought for a long time that this breakdown, this massive decline of the human body as we go through the aging process, really there had to be something involved with protein, not taking enough protein in our diets, because the building blocks of proteins, the amino acids that proteins break down to in our bodies, become the structures of our bodies as well. So the higher the quality protein we put into our body, the more we are able to incorporate that into living tissue so that we can age much more better on that biological level. What these researchers did was they took elderly people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they gave them different mixes of amino acids, the breakdown components of protein, and they found that by taking these high-grade amino acids, these older people were able to rebuild their bodies to that of a much younger person. Now, Sam and I have been researching together for quite a while now, and there was one incredible thing that came about with some of this research, and I called Sam on this, I think it was a couple of years ago now. Whey protein has been known to science for a long time to have a very high biological value, meaning that it is able to be recognized by the human body very readily and incorporated into structure very readily, more so than any other protein ever tested. But we know that whey protein has specific protein structures in its compound. We know that it has, for instance, something called beta and also something called alpha. Well, beta is very predominant in cow's milk. It's very good for a newborn cow or a calf. And alpha is very limited in a cow's body, but it's also very prominent in human breast milk, in mother's milk. As a matter of fact, over 25% of the matrix of mother's milk is this important protein called alpha. Alpha-lactalbumin is a correct name. Well, until about a couple of years ago, all of the whey proteins on the market had very high levels of beta, which is still a very good protein for the human body, but they had very low levels of alpha. And what these scientists were able to do finally, where they were able to actually find a way to isolate this alpha portion, the portion that's naturally found in the human body, that is able to become cells and tissues very, very quickly, more so than any other protein. And this was the advent of alpha pure protein that appears in Proteins Plus and Transform Plus. The byproduct of this processing technology allowed for superior profiles of all of these beneficial compounds, these beneficial amino acids. We were able to have very high levels of things called tryptophan, which we're going to explain to you a little later, how that balances moods, how that helps you sleep if you have sleep deficiencies. Because according to Dr. Edward Connolly, the director of the Michigan Chronic Fatigue and Fibromyalgia Clinic, 57% of the population is deficient in this amino acid called tryptophan. But what Sam was also talking about was that amino acid called glutathione that I spoke about a little earlier in the network antioxidants. Well, Dr. Gustavo Buonos, there's a name you want to say fast 10 times. From McGill University, he was the one that did the pioneering research on high alpha whey proteins being able to raise glutathione levels in the body more effectively than anything else. By taking these types of proteins, what you're going to do is not only allow the body to rebuild itself very effectively, you're going to allow the body to increase its immune response very effectively, because the immune system needs a lot of glutathione in order to function at its optimal level. It's fuel for the immune system. Glutathione is also one of the most important antioxidants for the brain as well, and it helps to fight that deadly free radical called the hydroxyl radical that actually is able to completely blow apart your actual genetic codes, your DNA. So it's very important to take whey proteins each and every day. And if you're very sensitive to whey proteins, that means you would have to be extremely sensitive to milk. First of all, there's no lactose in the higher grade whey proteins such as these, but they also contain minute quantities of the protein fraction found in milk called casein. Some people may have, maybe very, very sensitive to even casein, but there are minute quantities in these proteins. One of the things I want to talk to you about very quickly is exercising. I just want to finish that off because one of the biggest misconceptions is, what do I eat before exercise? What do I eat after exercise? I'm so confused by this whole thing. Do I go out and buy Gatorade? I mean, that's what everybody else does. That's what I see the athletes do. Well, it's one of the worst things you can do if you're interested in retaining your biological youth, especially because of two important hormones. You have one hormone that's called human growth hormone that declines by about 80% by the average age of 65 to 75. And human growth hormone is needed to build new muscle tissue in the body, to keep you young, for the immune system to function on that optimal level. But you also degrade your levels, this is also for women, of testosterone, that hormone that we think is only produced in a man's body. And testosterone is absolutely fundamental, not only to the rebuilding and repairing process of the body, but also so that bone doesn't get degraded too quickly. So we keep our vitality and our energy production. What happens is about 15 minutes after weight-bearing activity, as long as you don't go over that 45-minute mark that I mentioned, you produce large amounts of human growth hormone and testosterone. But the mistake a lot of people make is they take a high carbohydrate beverage without any protein immediately after exercising. What that does is that stimulates a hormone that Sam Gracie is going to talk about called insulin. And insulin shuts off that hormonal cascade that we've just worked so hard to create. So it shuts off human growth hormone and testosterone production, and now we've just negated all of that beneficial exercise that we worked so hard for. Whey proteins such as a Proteins Plus or Transform Plus, very high alpha whey protein with carbohydrates and even essential fatty acids after working out. This is a very important mix to remember.
Would you raise your hand if you're a female? Raise your hand. Every female. Some people don't know if you are or not. Somebody picks out them out. I'm going to venture to say this. 60% of you that are females are protein deficient. I want to say it again, because it's critically important to understand what Brad said. I want to repeat in one or two sentences how to incorporate it. If you're a woman, if you're a female, I'm going to suggest that 60% of you in here are protein deficient. On a daily basis, you're not consuming enough protein. Women have a tendency to consume carbohydrates, the hot breads with butters, the pastas, the rices. Men have a tendency to overconsume fats. I want women to go out of their way to make sure that at all 3 meals each and every day that you've got high quality lean protein, whether it's from plant-based or animal-based. Lean protein. Is the woman here who came to see me at Bull and Books last night, is she here by any chance? Well, before I mention that, there is another woman here that I met at Bull and Books last night. Brad was signing a copy of Fat Wars for this gentleman. And I was just standing there, just finished talking to somebody, and this woman walked up, very serious, beautiful young woman, and she stood in front of me, she looked, and she said, I'm going to quote her words, and she said to me, within 3 weeks I want to be pregnant. I said, he's right here. Would she stand up, please? Come on. Give her...
That's great.
She wanted to know nutritionally what to do. But there was another woman, an artistic woman, who teaches at the University of Victoria. And I said to her, how much protein do you get? She said, oh, I get lots of protein. I said, great, let's go through what you eat. What did you have this morning? I had 1 poached egg. Wonderful way to cook an egg if you're going to have it. 7 grams of protein. The average woman needs 80. If you're exercising and you're working out, you might need 100. So, okay, we've got 7 out of the 80. What'd you have for lunch? She said, I had a cheese sandwich. Wonderful. Maybe the bread, you got 2. What'd you have? 1 slice of cheese? Yes. A little slice of Swiss cheese. Great. Got another 3. There's 5. We're up to 12 out of the 80. What'd you have for supper? She said, oh, I had a baked potato and I had a salad. And she said, you know, I had this other little kind of sandwich with a little bit of tuna fish. I said, okay, so you got 10. So you got 22 out of the 80, protein deficient. You're paying a huge price with your hormones. PMS, perimenopause, menopause, cancer. The more protein, the less cancer, as long as it's quality protein that Brad's been talking about, whey protein. So why these protein powders? Because you can take non-fat milk, organic milk, or you can take rice milk, or you can take soy milk, or you can take water. And with water, you've got 108 calories. With the other kind of liquids, you might have 130 calories. That's all, compared to the cinnamon roll at 670. You mix it up, and you drink it, and you have world-class protein, 30 grams of protein for $1. So it's important that you go out of your way to do it. Why do I mention that? Because one of the most important biological markers that Brad's been talking about of aging is insulin. And one of the best ways to age and accelerate your aging, which almost most of us are doing unconsciously on a daily basis, is elevated insulin levels. The storage hormone that helps protein to be made, and it stores fat, long-term storage in our human body. Because fat is what our body wants if a famine comes. And when you go on a diet, what does your body say? Oh my goodness, there still are famines. Wait till I come off this diet. I'm going to store all the fat I can. So as Brad said, one diet leads to another diet, leads to another failed diet, leads to another one. They must. Because they all mimic a famine. And a famine response to the human body that wants survival optimally says, darn it, let's store more fat for the next famine to work our way through it. So you have to do what Brad King has been talking about in Fat Wars. It's not by eliminating food, it's by eating food, but hormonally balanced food. You have to be full all the time. You have to be satiated. The weight will come off. Now, this insulin, this hormone, is really responsible for this interaction. Insulin is secreted to the amount of sugar that gets into your bloodstream that's dictated by the foods that you eat. Now, I said that most women are protein deficient, and they tend to eat too many carbohydrates. When you eat the bread, when you eat the pasta, when you eat the rice, when you eat the bagel, when you eat the muffin, the list goes on and on and on. Those foods very quickly in your stomach, your small intestine, break down to sugar. That's the sugar that's going to fuel your cells. You want that sugar. We developed that way that our blood carries our fuel mix. The fuel mix that's going to get into our cells to give us the the energy to go. And we call that fuel glucose. And the body developed a hormone from the pancreas called insulin that when you eat foods that break down to sugar, low-density carbohydrates like salads, vegetables, moderate carbohydrate foods like fruit break down to sugar very slowly. High-density carbohydrates are the processed kinds of foods or the starchier kinds of foods that break down very quickly. And they flood your system with glucose immediately. And the body has to secrete an enormous amount of insulin. The more sugar, the more insulin. That's why I talked about the cinnamon roll. 12 teaspoons of sugar. So an enormous amount of insulin comes out. As insulin increases, you age quicker. A biomarker of aging is elevated insulin levels. Chronically elevated, you age quickly. That's what happens for diabetics. They age the quickest because elevated and fluctuating insulin levels. So one of the most important things you can do is keep your insulin levels down. The way to do that is don't eat all the processed carbohydrates, the pretzels, the potato chips, and all the things that look so wonderful. You were never designed to eat those foods. You were designed to eat low-density carbohydrates. All the salads you want. Pretty well. All the vegetables you want. And a moderate amount of fruit, especially the berries. And Brad talked about whey protein. Go out of your way to have an Alpha Pure whey protein drink for one meal every day, even if you add yogurt to it, plain white organic yogurt, even if you add half a cup of blueberries to it, which you want, because they're the carbohydrates. You need carbohydrates and protein to satiate and satisfy and to lift our mood, these are all hormonally responses that we have to food, then you need carbohydrate with your protein. So you want blueberries, for instance, with a liquid, which is water, if you want to lose weight. If you don't, then it's non-fat milk or rice milk or soy milk, with alpha whey, pure protein, maybe some yogurt, maybe some lecithin.